Well, they got it completely blocked up in 2 days. I suppose now the next step is to put a roof on that thing. I suppose. I still don't. They poured the floor, and then they started building blocks up, and they come up to that one to the 3rd tier, and then they stopped, and then they went in there and poured fill dirt inside that on top of that subfloor they already had in there with the plumbing and everything in it. And then they filled it up even to that 3rd tier and poured another cotton picking slab on it with plumbing. So I don't know. I don't know what the point was there. I don't know. Well, let me walk around here a minute and look at my pine cone ginger lilies. Wow. Oh boy. Alright, I'm going to take my hat off and set it. Set it right there. I gotta get a haircut. When I went in the 8th grade, I was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, living with my daddy. And at that time, my sister was with us too, Carolyn. But I went to R.J. Reynolds High School. Of course, R.J. Reynolds, that was named after R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, because that Winston-Salem was the home thing for R.J. Reynolds. You know, they made like Salem's and Winston's and 2 or 3 other brands I can't think of. But that school, it was way out of my league. Most of the kids there had wealthy parents. So I don't know why my daddy decided to put us over there. But most of the kids, the 16-year-olds, they had cars already, you know, and everything. Of course, I had a car when I was 16, but I had already quit school, and I had some money left over from my insurance where I had to have a hernia surgery, and I bought a car. But at Reynolds High School, one side, there was 2 entrances off to the side of that school. And everybody, after lunch, they sit out there and everything except one thing. One entrance is where all the boys sat and hung out. The other entrance was where all the girls hung out. And it wasn't a school rule or anything like that, or a school policy. That's just something the kids did. So for a few days, I sit over there on the boys' side. But I found the girls' side more interesting. And why in the world would I want to sit over there with the boys when all the girls is down at the other side? So one day, and there goes crime. I ain't got anything today. I'm broke. So one day I just walked my little skinny butt down to the girls' side, and I sit out there there was concrete things coming down the steps, and I sat on the flat thing there, you know, and I just looked around. I guess I was grinning. I was probably grinning like a mule eating sawbriars. And boy, was I getting the looks. I was getting the looks from the girls. I was getting the looks from the boys. And as teachers passed by, they kind of looked over there. Well, what's he doing over here? I don't know. But guess what? I wound up about 2 days after that, I went over again, and I wound up getting phone numbers of girls. Muriel Mitchell, which she was way out of my league. I mean, that girl was wealthy. I knew that because of where she lived at Buena Vista. I got Agnes, what was her last name? I can't remember her. Agnes's mama was a teacher there. I got Paula Raw. And I also got 2 other girls. They were sisters, was Brenda Peebles and Sylvia Peebles. Got their phone numbers. And later on, a few months later, Brenda became my girlfriend. Um, but I, I, did I look I don't know. Did I look ridiculous going over there like that, or did I just have no shame? I don't know, but I loved it. I loved it. None of the boys ever did start coming over. I thought I was going to start a trend. But most of the students there kind of looked down their nose at me. And, you know, and they all had the latest style clothes and everything. And right about that time, the style was black pants, black shirt with pink trim or pink stitching on it, stuff like that. And the girls, you know, skirts with, what did they have on them skirts? Poodles and their name and all that stuff. And I didn't have any of that stuff. All my clothes were plain. And one day I went to the dime store and I got me some pink thread and some needles, sewing needles. And I got a pair of my gabardine black pants, and I put pink stitches all the way down the legs on that thing and around the edge of the pockets and everything. Oh. And one day I was standing in line, and this boy was standing there in line, and I noticed he kept looking at my clothes and everything. And of course, he was all decked out in the latest style with the stitching and all that stuff. And I guess you could tell mine was homemade. And that boy said, he said, it ain't real. That ain't, or he said, that ain't real. And I can't remember what I said now. But I guess he got afraid. I must have threatened him or something, because he never did say anything to me anymore. And matter of fact, if we was in close to the line, he'd change spots in the line. And a lot of those boys was afraid of me. I just looked. Eddie Johnson, that was the boy but he was a wealthy kid too, but he was a good friend of mine. And he told me then, said your appearance is scaring a lot of people. And he said, you look rough. So I'd have preferred he said tough. But I never got in a fight there. Well, I got in a fight with one kid one time. Me and my sister and another friend of hers, Shirley Burr, was walking down the street going down there to, what was the name of that theater? It wasn't Carolina Theater, it was Winston Theater. And it was just me and Carolyn and Shirley. And there was 2 or 3 boys walking up towards us. And this one guy reached over and pinked Shirley on the boot. And I started to say something about it, but then there was 3 of them and there was only 1 of me, so I kept walking, and all of a sudden the girls turned around there and said, Mackie, get him. they was instigating a cotton picking fight. And we had a fight. But I hear a bird or something. But I lucked out. Because when I seen it was going to be a fight, I figured I'd hit one and then run. But to get the girls to run with me. And I hit this one guy and down he went. And he sat there for a second, and the other two guys with him turned around and took off running. So that was the end of that. There wasn't no fight to it. I hit the guy once. He didn't want to get back up. But, yeah, my sister always, when we was out and stuff and there was something getting started, some kind of confrontations or something, she didn't know when to shut her mouth. She did not know. And I told her one time, you keep on doing that, one time I'm going to leave your butt sitting. She always got me into stuff. Yeah, I had them pink stitches, boy. I know it had to look like crap. I thought I was sharp, man, with all that. That was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And Shirley Burr, me and Carolyn was living with my dad. And Shirley Burr was staying with us a lot. And I can't remember. Yeah, it was Shirley Burr. Burr was the last name. And we met her daddy and everything. Turns out Shirley had already had a baby and she was just 14. Didn't know that till later. But her mama came around one time. And Shirley's parents was divorced, and her mama come around and she started carrying on with my daddy. And daddy almost married that woman. Almost married that woman. We had another friend that was in that little clique with us. Her name was Alice Faye Puckett. And and a lot of kids made fun of her name, and they'd call her Alice Faye, and then they would change that P on the first of her last name to F. And boy, she got in a knockdown, drag-out fight with one girl one time, called her that. But that's back. We had to ride the city bus then, you know. We got discounted bus tickets, bus tokens, or we paid cash, and I think it was like a dime or 15 cents. And one day, I spent all my lunch money and all my bus money, and I forget what I spent it on. It was probably snacks or something there at the school. And I didn't have no tokens for the bus, and I didn't have no money for the bus, and and I was telling Carolyn, please pay my fare on the bus. And she said, no, I ain't going to do it. But I figured she was going to change her mind, and I hopped on the bus and went right behind her. And the bus driver said, either pay or get off. And that stinking Carolyn, she let me walk home, and it was like 3 or 4 miles. And me and Carolyn got into an argument when I got home. And I wasn't going to hit her, but I was so mad, I picked up a quart milk bottle. Back then, milk was coming in bottles. And I picked up a milk bottle, and it had a little milk in it. And I throwed that thing down on the floor. Kabam! I didn't know it was going to break, but it broke. Then, what made it worse, it cut Carolyn on the foot. And I knew I was in deep doo-doo when Daddy got home. All because, and she had money, she had extra money. But boy, and that was right before Carolyn moved back to Florida to my mama's. And then it was just me and Daddy's, and me and Daddy, we just got a boarding house. Wasn't no good with keeping a big house and all that stuff. We got in a boarding house. And this happened, that was at 728 North Cherry Street. And at 729 North Cherry Street lived these two girls, Brenda Peebles and Sylvia Peebles. And me and Brenda was boyfriend, girlfriend. Boy, that's when my oats started raging, folks. Friends with Brenda's daddy and mama. I become good friends with Brenda's older brother, David. And he's the son of a gun that's responsible for that little ridiculous homemade tattoo he put on my arm. And the deal was, if Brenda would get my name tattooed on her, I would have David put a tattoo on my arm of Brenda's name. But that was before David did this. And so Brenda got a tattoo, and she got Mackie, and guess where it's at? Right on the side of her thigh. Not up towards the bump ugly thing, you know. But it was on her thigh, and oh, she was crying. It hurt. So I wasn't gonna get her name tattooed to me because I figured it's gonna hurt. So David was gonna do a test one on my arm to show me it didn't hurt, and then he was gonna put her name on my leg. And as you can see, that's not a good. You can see where it starts out strong and fades out. That's because as the pain kept getting worse, I chickened out. And after that, me and Brenda broke up. She was so mad at me. We broke up. Then after that, I tried to date her sister, Sylvia. And they called me Rusty. They didn't call me Mackie. They called me Rusty. Short for Russell. And I was trying to date Sylvia. So she agreed to go on a date with me. And Brenda done found a new boyfriend. His name was Sammy Martin. So we was going to double date. Me and Sylvia was dating, and Brenda and Sammy was dating. And and Sammy was driving, and me and Sylvia was sitting in the back seat. And I started to try and get me a little kiss, you know, and all that. Sylvia had a conniption. No, no, Rusty, you're Brenda's old boyfriend. I can't do this. So that was the end of that. Me and Sylvia never did actually go on a real date. Oh well. Anyway, folks, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope I can get used to this cotton picking house sitting here like this. I mean, it's right. I could probably spit on that thing. That's how close it is. That gone. That was a vacant lot when we was here, and a guy that had a moving truck that he moved people and to move them to different places and stuff, and he kept a truck and a trailer parked here. So I don't know if he sold the lot or what he did to it. Anyway, folks, I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate you. I love you. Catch you in the next one. Yep, gotta turn that thing off.